The Ancients' World. Chapter 201, Return to the Ancient Ruins of the Dryads. We have been flying for about an hour so far, and I still haven't seen a stream of water yet. I want to wash if possible too. It's been a stressful few days, and I'm starting to smell. I haven't seen a stream yet, Sally. We have a few thousand miles to go. We'll find one eventually. I'm going to land us for the night. Once morning comes, we'll travel at full speed. I've been flying slowly in the night to enjoy the downtime. I slowly bring us down and land on a hill. Sally gets off and leaves into the trees. Probably to use the bathroom. I take the tent out of my inventory and set it all up. We still have around 6 hours till sun rises, and we'll reach the ruins of the Dryads after about half a day of traveling at full speed. So it won't take long. I hear the rustling of the bushes, and Sally comes back out. She walks up to the entrance of the tent and crawls in. I follow her inside and lay down on the soft furs. I take a relaxed sigh and close my eyes. Sally uses me as a body pillow and snuggles up close. I think of what I'm about to accomplish after so long. The legendary quest that I've had for so long is getting closer and closer to being finished. I clear my mind and relax since I'll no longer be having urgent quests to do. Once we are done at the Dryads, I'll be stopping by Zenith to visit Amelia. That'll be a good day. After we're done with that, Sally and I will start her quest for revenge, and I'm going to enjoy helping her kill the men that made her life a living hell. As Sarah and Sally sleep, there is an emergency meeting happening. The Pope is the one leading it as always. The public appearance of Zirn in the capital city Belvia has the religious community in an uproar. This is the first time he has come out of hiding in a public light, and the fact he did the same day Belvia's treasure room got robbed is not a coincidence. He has no connection, though. I look around the room and see the worried faces of the rulers. We have all heard what happened to the nobles in Belvia and the threat Zirn made to King Kleager's life. He couldn't be at this meeting. He is too busy trying to fix the damage done by Zirn. One of our 4 high generals, Oliver Blaker, has reported some dire news to us. We knew that Zirn would be upset with us trying to find him so fervently, but I never expected the reaction he had. I stand up from my chair and make my way to the center of the stage to speak. The developments that have occurred in the capital city Belvia are true. Zirn did, in fact, kill many high-ranking nobles and threatened the life of the king. Many squint their eyes at this. Many of these rulers don't know how to react to that since they never had anyone with that kind of authority walking around. It's not like they can fight back against the grandson of the Almighty Father. You would doom your country for 100 generations if you tried something. This also brings up a new problem. The rules normal angels have to follow don't apply to Zirn. Angels normally can't take mortal life, but that's not the case for Zirn. I watch the Queen of the Elves twist in her chair slightly. I want to know about the person he was traveling with. The report says all that's known about the person is they have long blonde hair, but that's it. That sounds like a woman to me. If he can't be wed to one of my daughters, then we will withdraw our help in this war. I suggest you find out before we do, cause if what I suspect is true, the church will pay for it. She shuts off her magical hologram, and I pinch the bridge of my nose in frustration. I look at Lucy and see how fed up she is with all these politics. I'm beginning to feel the same way, but they are necessary for the successful end to this war. The new people have been a tremendous help, but they are still too weak to bring a definite end. I walk back to my chair, so Lucy has time to speak. She has been battling on all fronts of this war. When she missed the opportunity to meet Zirn, she was seething in silent rage. I want to address the biggest problem we have encountered in this war. That being supplies. We are constantly running out of food and medicine for the wounded. The war has been getting more brutal thanks to the increase in monsters. It doesn't help they don't need to sleep or eat. We need solutions for this right now. Lucy finishes speaking, and many of the holograms mute. The kings and queens are speaking to their financial advisors and military leaders. Lucy leaves the center stage and takes her seat. The meeting continues into the night, and now there are new developments regarding the players, specifically the Adamo family. Violet is speaking to her husband as they approach their destination. We have been traveling a long time, and Marcus has grown so powerful in that time. We are on our way to get our legacy classes. We are the last ones in our family. I know in my heart that Haley already got hers. I look to my husband as we walk side by side. Are you excited that we get to have our legacy classes? I can't wait to test out the new powers we'll be getting. My husband smiles at me and nods his head in agreement. He grabs my hand and holds it as we walk. The time we have got to spend together has brought us much closer. We live a life of adventure now, one that is unhindered by others. We have no one to answer to, and we are free to do whatever we want. These things together have allowed us to rediscover our love. We both look at the back of Marcus ahead of us, having fun. I'm very excited about it. We have crossed so much land and met so many new people. I'm sure Sir Ericsson is having a good time running the guild while on the move. What I want the most, though, is to have our family back together again. To meet up and talk about our journeys. I'm interested to see what has transpired with Sarah and Haley. I completely agree with what he says. The world announcements only tell us so much about Sarah, and we don't know if the person who got battle mind is Haley. I worry about both of them every day. It helps that I have Marcus with me, but that hole in my heart is still there with them gone. I've had them with me every day of my life. It's hard to have a connection like that torn apart in the span of a few hours. I have a feeling it's going to be a long time before I see my babies again. They are adults, though, and I shouldn't be defining my life as only a mother. Outside of those relationships, I don't know who I am. The thought of what I want is unfamiliar. For the longest time, what I wanted has been what my kids wanted. So this is new to me, and I'm growing to the change. Thanks for being so strong for me. Even the times I blew up on you for no reason. I apologize to Chris and think about my situation. I look out into the vast dark horizon as we continue walking the road. Earth is gone, and it always will be. The ancients' world has become our home, though, and it's growing on me. Chris brings me close and kisses me. He holds me to his side as we walk the path to our destination. I think that as long as we have each other, nothing can ever be too hard. We were struggling parents in a dying world for almost 25 years. Compared to that, this is a cakewalk. We have time, youth, and love on our side, Violet. Let's take all the time in the world for whatever we want. I smile at my husband's words. We both look at Marcus and see him playing with fire. It still makes me nervous, but thanks to his class, fire can't hurt him. Having the legendary fire magic class, Phoenix will do that. His fire is a beautiful blazing white, and it can change depending on his emotions. If Sarah could see him now, he would be proud. Just as proud as Chris and I are. The night passes as people either travel or sleep. The next chapter in Gaia is about to start, and it starts with a couple sleeping in a tent. The future is uncertain, but one thing is for sure. It's only going to get more interesting. Chapter 202, Return to the Ancient Ruins of the Dryads 2. I feel the sun shining into the tent, and a warm heat engulfs the inside of the tent. I open my eyes, and the gunk makes it a little hard. I peel Sally off me and exit the tent. I stretch out my body, and many pops run down my back. I look out to the vast horizon and see the endless sea of trees. We'll make it to the Dryads' ruins by this afternoon. Sally still wants to find a stream, though, so there will be a tiny detour there. Once we do find a stream, I'm going to get clean with it too. I've realized that having chances to clean yourself is few and far between. I walk over to a log a little off from the camp, and I sit down. The sun has just risen over the mountains, and it's warming up everything. This world is so much healthier than Earth. It makes me wonder if Earth ever had a beauty like this. If it ever didn't look like it was dying. Perhaps long ago, it did, many years before my time. A cold breeze comes through our little area, and it feels good in contrast to the rising heat of today. My mind shifts to my family and how they are doing right now. I know for a fact that both Haley and Marcus have their classes now. Mom and Dad are the only ones left that need to get theirs. They'll be getting legacy classes for swordsmen themselves. I hope that I'll get to see them again, but at this point, I don't see that happening. I don't even know where they are, and after I'm done with the Dryads, Sally and I are going to hunt down all the evil men that ruined her life and push the elves. Out of all the things that I hope to do in the future, meeting up with my family is going to be one of them. As I stare off into the distance, I hear shuffling coming from the tent behind me. After a couple of seconds, Sally crawls out and looks pretty tired still. The sucky part is neither of us has eaten in quite some time. I could hunt us some food quickly and make us breakfast, but that might be too bloody for early morning. Sally walks over to me, half asleep, and sits next to me. She proceeds to plop her body on mine. I hear her stomach growl a second later, a long one too. I'm so hungry. Do we have any food? I shake my head, and she groans in protest. She holds onto her stomach as if to convey I need to do something about it. I stand up from my spot and toggle my wings on. I'll be back with some meat. I don't know what kind it'll be, but I'll have food when I return. You get a fire going so we can cook it. She looks at me in excitement, and I launch off the ground and fly around the area, looking for any food. I see some elk grazing in a clear a little ways off. I draw my sword and dive down towards a buck. I cut its head off as I land. The rest of the elk scatter as fast as they can. I spend the next 15 minutes gutting and cleaning the meat. It comes out really rough since I don't have any skills to help with that or the proper class. I pack the meat that is usable into my inventory, and I head back to camp. Now we really need to find a stream so I can clean this blood off me. I gently land and see that Sally has a nice fire going. She looks over, waiting for me to confirm that I have food. I pull out 2 big pieces of elf meat, and she smiles. She isn't as picky as Haley. I walk over to the fire with her, and we stick the meat on some sticks and hang them over the fire. You sure don't know how to kill something cleanly, do you? How many times have I seen you covered in blood before? I think this is the 3rd time, or maybe it's the 4th. She teases me about the fact I'm messy when it comes to this particular thing that I do. I chuckle and sit back down on the log, waiting for the food to cook. I'm kind of excited that we get to free the Dryads. I've only learned about them from some books I read after I escaped. I should tell her about the boss we'll have to fight. Speaking of bosses, we need to fight. The chamber that Eleanor is locked in will be a tight space to fight a powerful boss. The boss we have to fight is going to be powerful. When I first went to the Dryads' ruins, I was too weak to face it. The power beyond the door was strong enough to fully convince me that I wasn't ready. So expect a tough fight once we do get there. She stays quiet and nods her head as she stares at the elk meat. I'm pretty hungry, too, and I can understand wanting to eat first before doing anything like discussing a boss battle. While the food cooks, I pull up the quest to refresh my memory on it. The quest changed slightly after I got that potion. So remembering the new details is important. Quest, the false one. Description: you have found the truth about Belvia and their involvement with the Dryads, and you have found out about the curse and who made it. You will have a choice to make. Only one of the following objectives can be completed. Objective 1, expose the kingdom of Belvia and have them pay for their crimes. Not available. Objective 2, find the weakness of the curse and use it to free the Dryads and return them to Ancient's world. Completed. Objective 3, now that you are in Belvia, finding the right person to talk to is important. How you do this is up to you. Completed. Objective 4, use the potion to cleanse Princess Eleanor in the boss room at the ruins of the Dryads. In progress. Quality, legendary. Rewards, hidden. The potion was rewarded to me after completing an abomination. All it tells me about it is it will free Eleanor from the curse. I don't know where all the Dryads are. What the secret keeper of Titans told me seems a little far-fetched. I'm brought from my thoughts as I smell the food and see that it's done. I stand up and talk both pieces of meat off the sticks, and I had one to Sally. She immediately digs in and looks satisfied with the food. I follow suit and enjoy it, while it isn't the best. It's not the worst. It fills you and has some flavor. Thank you for going out of your way to getting us some food this morning. I don't know how long I could have lasted till the next meal we had. I smile at Sally's improved energy and enthusiasm. We finish our food in a few minutes, and I pack up the tent. I toggle my wings back on and wait for Sally to climb onto my back. As she gets comfortable, I launch off the ground and reach above the clouds. I reach the full speed of 430 miles per hour and look down towards the ground and through the clouds. I have to keep an eye out for any streams. After flying for around 40 minutes, I spot a stream breaking through the land. I take us down really fast, and Sally holds on tight. I land us gracefully next to the stream, and Sally gets off. Her hair is messy from the speed we were flying and diving at it. She fixes it after running it through her hair a couple of times. Too bad we don't have any soap, but this will do just fine. She proceeds to take off her clothes while I watch. I turn away before she has nothing left. I hear her giggle and walk up behind me. If you want to clean your armor, this is your chance to do so. She laces her voice with temptation, while we can't have any real fun because she is on her period. That doesn't mean we can't be physical. I release a tiny sigh and unequip my armor down to my underwear. I turn around and see she is wearing a bra and panties. I'm secretly grateful she is. That would be so much to handle. She smiles and dives into the stream. I smile and follow suit. The cool water is so much more refreshing and relaxing. It's clean and clear, not murky and polluted like earth. Sally comes up from the water and splashes me. I smile and spread my wings out. Her smile fades as she realizes what's about to happen. Chapter 203, Return to the Ancient Ruins of the Dryads 3. I use my large wings to splash Sally with water. I make sure it isn't too much. I still want it to be fun, after all. We splash around in the water for a few minutes and calm down. I toggle my wings off as Sally makes her way closer with a certain look on her face. I wait for her, and once she is within arm's reach, she wraps her arms around my neck and brings me in closer. You know, you still haven't cleaned your armor, don't you think you should get on that? I mean, it is covered in elk blood after all. I smile slightly and lean my head towards hers. She matches me and leans forward as she closes her eyes. Our lips make contact a second later, and it sends a warm feeling throughout my body. We don't add any extra movement or make it hot, just a simple kiss. I like these ones the most. We pull apart for a second only to make contact again. I feel Sally run her fingers through my wet hair and move her lips in a sensual motion. It looks like we are moving on from simple kisses. I match the calm small movements, and after a couple more seconds, we pull away from each other. She stares into my eyes with a pure smile. You make me have butterflies in my stomach sometimes. I wonder what I'd do if any other woman tried to steal you from me. I hate sounding possessive and controlling, but I hate that thought so much. I hate the thought of some other man taking you from me, so I get the feeling. I'm the type of man that wants to be with one girl I like for the rest of my life. I tilt my head slightly and notice she is waiting for a response. I get that, Sally. I don't like the thought of losing you to another, and I'd probably kill the man that tried. I never expected us to grow so close, but it's hard not to like you, Sally. The first conversation we had made me laugh. I opened my room door, and you said that I needed a serious bath. After learning more about you, it made me wonder how you could turn out the way you did. So kind and sweet, with a good heart. I can see now that it's because of you, your own strength. That's rare to find in anyone, and I love it. Her cheeks redden as her smile gets larger from my retelling the first time we met. She lowers her head just a little while keeping eye contact. It's a look that puts me on edge. She brings her head forward and starts kissing me again. This time she is much more exploratory. She moves her lips in medium to large movements, sticking the tip of her tongue in ever so slightly at random intervals. After upping the intensity, she uses the tip of her tongue to touch mine. The feeling is good on both ends as we both release a small moan at the contact. The contact stops, and we pull away from each other. I open my eyes to see the half-closed eyes of Sally with red burning cheeks. I watch her take deep breaths and have a certain look in her eye. I must have the same blushing face as hers. I hate that I'm on my period right now. I crack a grin at the disappointed look on her face as she remembers that. I bring us back to the edge of the stream. I'm tall enough to reach the bottom. She hangs on as I bring us out of the water. The heat has risen since we went in the water. I gently let her go and watch as she uses the sun to dry off. I'm disappointed she is on her period too. I turn back to the stream and take my armor out of my inventory. I go waist deep in the water and drop my armor in. I scrub the elk blood out as best I can, and the clear water dyes a little red as the water carries the blood downstream. Leaving it in my inventory would have cleaned it, but I want it clean right now after I get all the blood out and take them out of the water and lay them next to Sally's clothes. I walk over and sit next to her on a rock. Sally takes a seat on the same rock I'm on, limiting space to where we have to lean on one another. So, have you thought about what we are going to do first after Zenith? You know all the targets after all. She looks out to the stream with a calm expression. It's going to be hard to face the men that did that to her, and while I'd like to cut them down myself, I'm going to leave that pleasure for Sally. The thought of her being abused makes a rage fester inside me, one that I've never had in my life. It's not a good rage. It's an evil one. She sighs and leans her head on my shoulder. We don't have to talk about it now. We'll discuss it after we are done in Zenith. She nods her head and grabs my hand with hers. I'm going to be with her the entire time. If she needs to fall back on me, she can, and if she needs me to let her do all the dirty work, then that's fine too. How long do you think it'll be before we make it to the Dryads? I tell her we'll get there before late evening. Traveling at full speed as we have been will make the trip fast. I'm excited that we get to help an entire race of people be freed from a curse. Who knows what will happen once they are free? Are we going to have to explain to them everything that has happened since they were cursed thousands of years ago? Sally brings up a point that I have avoided thinking about since it's really complex. Explaining everything that's happened to the Dryads will be hard, and I doubt they'll let Belvia off the hook after all this time. To them, it happened yesterday. I'm not sure, Sally. They are returning to a world that has been without them for a couple of thousand years, and the way they left was not of their own accord. They will want Belvia to pay for its crimes against them. What I'm worried about is how it will affect the rest of Gaia and the wars that we are in and are on the horizon. Belvia, during the time of the Dryads, was in league with the Church of Dark Ones. After the war was over and the Church of Light discovered Belvia's treachery, they had to let them go. There were too many innocent people in Belvia to punish the entire country. It isn't the normal people's fault that the rulers did what they did. This led the Church to cover it up. The Dryads don't know this, but I'm sure they would if they took Belvia and learned the military secrets. That would cause a new war, and it'll spill allegiances all over Gaia. We can cross that bridge when we get there, all right? I don't think it's fair that you have to solve all the world's problems. Sally reassures me and kisses me on the cheek. We are both dry now, and that means it's time to get a move on. We don't reek anymore, which is nice, and I'm happy to be traveling with Sally. We stand up and get dressed. Laying our clothes in the sun really dried them off. I toggle my wings on and kneel so Sally can climb on. Once she is all settled in, I launch us off the ground at full speed, and we reach the clouds. I keep the speed up and enjoy the late morning sunshine. If I did have a favorite part of the day, it'd be late morning. It's when things aren't too cold or hot yet. It's been quite some time since I've been to the ancient ruins of the Dryads. I honestly never thought I'd be back. A true bona fide legendary quest sure is difficult. I'd be lying if I said I didn't care about the reward. I can only guess what I'd be getting, lots of levels and some great items. Probably huge reputation boosts with all light factions, too, and having the Dryads as my friends just like the fairies are. I wonder what the first thing they'll do once they are free from the curse. Finding loved ones and connecting after being cursed, I couldn't imagine such a fate. We fly for the next several hours, and as late afternoon approaches, I can see the ruins as we soar through the sky. This is it, freeing the Dryads at least. Fighting a powerful boss that will surely stand in the way and completing a quest I've had since I've started my journey here. Only for the next chapter with Sally to be right around the corner. Chapter 204, The Dryad Princess Eleanor. I land us right at the gate that leads into the ruins. Nothing has changed since I was last here. I let Sally off me, and we both stare at the entranceway. Let's do this. She nods her head in agreement, and we walk into the same massive courtyard I did the first time I came here. There isn't anything out of place from the last time I was here. I see the cathedral that I entered when I went looking for the diaries that Wilmer needed. That's the place. There is a powerful boss in the boss room. It's guarding Eleanor's body. I finally get to see what creature is protecting the princess's sleeping body. The last time I was here, I avoided the fight because I could feel that it was much more powerful than I was, but I've gained a lot of power since then. I wouldn't be surprised if I could easily overwhelm the creature, but I doubt it will be so easy to do. We walk up the stairs that lead to the front door, and I push them open. I look forward and see the doors that enter into the chamber Princess Eleanor is being kept. I make sure Sally is behind me before approaching. I'm not totally certain that she is strong enough. We approach the door, and I place my hand on it, getting the prompt this is a boss room and asking if I'm sure I want to enter with my party. I think yes, and the door slowly creaks open. As I stare into the room being lit by blue light, I see the boss monster. I don't know what it is. It's something that I've never seen before. It must have been here for a very long time. I use inspect on it as I draw my sword. Offspring of Evil LVL.220 Tier 4 Boss Heavily Suppressed. 200 million/200 million HP. Description: Unknown. It feels that it's been inspected and turns towards us. It has a hideous face, covered in boils and holes that insects come and go from. Look who finally decided to come back. You have gotten strong, son of Michael. The creature speaks in multiple voices, and it has an echo that reverberates in the chamber. It's obviously very old and has probably been here a long time. I bet you're wondering why I'm talking to you instead of fighting you. In truth, I am. I nod my head, confirming his suspicion. He smiles as his rotten black teeth show. The princess isn't the only one here against her will. So I want to make a proposition for you. Just listen to what I have to say and take a couple of minutes to think about it. This sounds like the saying of evil's soft first touches. I nod my head entertaining the idea, and he turns to look back at the princess. The curse that Ulmaruna put on her and the Dryad people is powerful, and I have no doubt you have the cure. I was brought to this realm by Ulmaruna to make sure nobody ever freed the Dryads. For a price, of course. However, Ulmaruna hasn't paid that price for my services. I can somewhat see where this is going. He either wants to be free so he can go after Ulmaruna or wants me to do something about it. I'll let you awaken the princess if you break the contract that Ulmaruna and I have. It's simple, really. All you have to do is activate your title and use one of your special active skills. The creature sure does know a lot about me and my capabilities. Not to mention his power is heavily suppressed. I don't know how strong he really is. I close my eyes, thinking about it. It'll save me the time of fighting this beast. It'll also go after Ulmaruna and probably return to where it came from. It sounded like it prefers that place more so than Gaia. I can do this for you, but how do I know you'll keep your word? Your grudge against Ulmaruna sounds serious, but you are more than meets the eye. I'm not foolish enough to trust you without some proof of good faith in your words. The creature nods his head in approval. I guess this creature likes to play games, be them mental or physical. I watch his giant body move over to a chest in the room, one that doesn't fit. It leaks evil. It must be his. He opens the chest and pulls out a scroll. I swear if it's a quest, I'm just going to fight this monster instead. This is another piece that your sword is missing from its power. The Witness is a holy sword, but it lacks any of its holy properties. Where do you think all of that's gone? There are pieces of its power spread across Gaia. This is one of them. Take it as a sign of good faith. He tosses the scroll to me, and as I catch it, I can feel the Witness vibrating in my hand. I use Inspect on the scroll, but nothing happens. Place the scroll on the blade of the Witness. Their power will combine once again. I listen to the creature and combine the powers. A bright light explodes from the Witness. Once the light fades, the weapon is overflowing with divine energy. I use Inspect on it to see new changes. The Witness. Description: a legendary sword that has been around since before recorded history. All the greatest and most influential people have wielded this blade. Empires have risen and fallen to, and for, this blade. It has been held by kings, queens, emperors, and empresses, along with sword saints of unparalleled power and recognition. The Witness is the most powerful of the one-handed swords on Gaia. There is no blade better to wield. The construction of the Witness isn't one known to all. Only a select few know its origins. It was crafted from the same divine metal as Durandal, Excalibur, and Caliban. They are considered siblings since they were made from the same metal ore. New information: the blacksmith that created the Witness is no other than Wayland himself. Out of all the swords he created, the Witness plays a special role. While warriors could wield it, its true power would be revealed when the son of Archangel Michael finally claimed it. More information will be revealed once you tier up. Quality: legendary. Durability: infinite. Damage: 52,000. Unique properties: has a very high chance to dismember limbs instantly. Has a very high chance to cause curse of decomposition. Description: areas attacked by curse of decomposition will rot away till they are cured or the target dies. Will always cause critical hit upon vital points struck. Will always ignore armor and defense ratings. This sword will gain more power every time you tier up. There is no required level to wield this blade. The Witness resonates with your angelic blood. Plus 10,000 focus. A synergy has been created between the dice of Wayland and the Witness. Damage has been raised to 52,000. Divinity Burn, inherent skill. Description: a powerful burn skill that is fueled by divine power. Especially effective against anything non-deity. Damage: 240,000 over time. This skill will active every third swing and burn the target for 12 seconds. I had no idea the Witness had more pieces of its power scattered around Gaia. I can see now that you really just want to get out of this place. Giving this to me is obvious enough. I enter my player interface and activate my title. A bunch of new special active skills shows up, and I look through the ones that might work. I find one that may work. I walk up to the creature and hold my hand out in front of it. I use the skill, and a blue light leaves my hand and enters the creature. A second later, I see black chains appear around the creature and shatter. The creature takes a deep breath and pops its giant disgusting body. I hope that you don't try anything now that you're free. The creature looks at me and transforms into a regular man. He walks up to me and looks me up and down. He has the ability to change forms. Why he chose that disgusting one up till now is beyond me. It's so great to be free after all these long years. I have missed this form, the one that fits in the best in this realm. Go and save the Dryads. I have a deal to finish. He smiles sinisterly and disappears in black goop. As his presence leaves the area, it feels so much lighter and less suppressed. I turn and look at Sally and see she is shaking slightly. I would be in her position. I wasn't scared because I knew I could kill him if I used all my skills. Sally, on the other hand, wouldn't want to fight something named the offspring of evil. I turn and look at the sleeping Eleanor. This is it. Chapter 205, The Dryad Princess Eleanor 2. I take the potion out of my inventory and bring it up to the sleeping Eleanor. She is calmly breathing as I tilt her head up very slightly. I uncap the potion and bring the bottle to her mouth. I slightly open her mouth for her, and I pour the potion into her mouth. I make sure every last drop makes its way in. I lay her back down as the empty potion bottle shatters. I watch as some color returns to her face, and she stirs a little. Miss Eleanor? Can you hear me? As I ask that question, her head turns in my direction, and her eyes slightly flutter open. I look into the Dryad princess's eyes, and I notice they are a deep green. She reaches her hand out in support, and I take it. She tries to get up, and I help her sit up. She holds her head and looks at the ground with hazy-looking eyes. Where am I? What happened? She begins to speak, and I feel really bad for her as I listen. She has been stuck in this place for a very long time. Probably not even aware she was cursed. Where are my father and little sister? I hold her up as I let her think and ask questions. She might be too weak to even stand on her own. I sling her arm over my shoulders and help her stand. I think taking her outside is going to be the way to do this. Some fresh air after a few thousand years can really help clear the head. I go slow as I walk her to the door, making sure I don't rush her and push her harder than she is ready for. We make it to the chamber's door, and we exit. The exit to the cathedral is next, and I can see a tired look on her face. She is really having a hard time. We exit the cathedral and make our way to the courtyard. I bring her to an old ruined stone bench. I watch her eyes look around in horror. This massive place used to be her and her people's home. Seeing it in this state would make anyone shaken up. My name is Zirn, and the girl over there is Sally. We are here to help you and your people. She looks at me and has confusion on her face. She puts her hands on her head and leans her head down. She stays like that for a few seconds. As I watch her, I look at Sally and tilt my head for her to come over and comfort Eleanor. Sally comes over and takes my spot. She rubs Eleanor's back in support. I stand up and notice that the magical energy is constantly climbing higher and higher around here. Something is going to happen. I look back towards Eleanor and notice that most of the energy is converging on her. I take it you don't remember what happened to you. Your people suffered greatly at the hands of Belvia. She raises her head fast as I say those words. So you remember them at least. You should know that you have been sleeping the past few thousand years. Your people are trapped in a place they can't get out of. However, I expect that to change very soon. She tries to stand up, and Sally helps her. She starts walking to the old fountain with water still coming through it. She sits on the edge and looks into the water. She takes a handful and drinks some of it. She must be quite parched. I had hoped that Belvia proposing the marriage would end our conflicts. It turns out it was just a ploy. I can feel my people trapped in a place beyond here. I can almost reach them, but I don't have the power to. Sally looks at me as Eleanor says that. I can definitely share my power with her. I walk up to her and place my hand on her shoulder. I close my eyes and channel my energy through her. She takes a deep gasp, and divinity is being given to her. You have so much power, all of it's at a level I have never felt. I'm going to need as much as you can give and more. I nod my head and pour more of my power into her. I can feel my billions in mana lower fast, and she doesn't look ready yet. Sally decides to help and places her hand on her other shoulder, and channels the little mana she can. After a few more minutes of this and my mana pool almost at zero, she stands up and takes a deep breath. I'm going to try and open a gateway between here and where my people are. Once it's open, they'll come through. There will be millions returning, and I'll need all the help I can get keeps the gateway open long enough for them to come through. I nod my head and notice my mana drain has slowed down, and I sit around 900 million. She puts her hands together and begins to chant a magic I have never heard before. As she finishes, multiple portals open up, and countless dryads come out of them. The drain on my mana starts up again, and it's not as fast as before. We do this for the next 15 minutes, and the number of dryads coming through has decreased. She makes a painful gasp and stops channeling as no more dryads come out. I catch her as she falls in my arms. I carry her as more and more dryads begin to stand up and get their bearings. Take me to my father. I need to speak with him. I don't know what her father looks like. I look around as more and more dryads stand. As I look, I get a notification. It's about the legendary quest. As I carry Eleanor through the crowds of dryads, many see that I'm carrying their beloved princess. Many follow behind us and whisper to one another. I can hear some of them. They are mostly about what happened to them and their kingdom. I open my quest to read it. Quest, the false one completed. Description, you have found the truth about Belvia and their involvement with the Dryads, and you have found out about the curse and who made it. You will have a choice to make. Only one of the following objectives can be completed. Objective 1, expose the kingdom of Belvia and have them pay for their crimes. Not available. Objective 2, find the weakness of the curse and use it to free the Dryads and return them to Ancient's world. Completed. Objective 3, now that you are in Belvia, finding the right person to talk to is important. How you do this is up to you. Completed. Objective 4, use the potion to cleanse Princess Eleanor in the boss room at the ruins of the Dryads. Completed. Quality, Legendary. Rewards. Plus 100 player levels. Plus 5,000 to all stats. Plus 25,000 reputation increase with the Dryad Kingdom. Plus 15,000 reputation with the Goddess of Nature, Artemis. Plus 50 levels to active skills. I pull up my player information to see the new changes to my levels and stats. Slayer, Zirn, LVL.190. EXP, 1/100%. Title, The Son of Archangel Michael, Hidden, plus 3 more. Stats. Strength, 7,095 Endurance, 7,045 Dexterity, 7,215 Speed, 7,240 Focus, 19,660. Mana Aura Control, 5/100%. Health, 56,560 million/56,560 million Mana, 196,600 million/196,600 million. Stat Points, 1000 Armor Rating, 500. Inventory. Passive Perks. Inheritor of the Sword, Son of Heaven, Slayer of Evil, Holy Willow Trees, Savior, Finder of Legends, the Divine who has legend destined for greatness, Dungeon Diver and Overachiever. Active Skills. Heaven's Light LVL.59325/5900 protected by Heaven LVL.59225/5900/LVL.774600/130000 Parry LVL.5380/5300 Double Strike N/A King Slayer N/A Raging Machine N/A Winged Glory Angelic Flight Divine Pressure Exertion Divinity Pulse Controlled Fun. I feel the surge in power in my body, and I complete a quest and get 2 new ones. The quest I completed was the first to get to level 150, and all that gave me was a reputation boost with all light side factions around Gaia. I pull up the new quests. Tier 2 quest. Tier 3 quest must complete Tier 2 quest first. I decide not to open them right now. I need to focus on what is going on right now. I continue to walk through the Dryad people until an area in front of me is also parting. I stop and wait. A man in incredible armor and extravagant robes walks out. Eleanor. He runs up to me and takes his daughter gently out of my arms. Oh God, what's happened to you? She is looking quite sickly now, and Eleanor just looks up at her father and smiles. She looks to be on death's door. I can save her. I toggle my title on, and many back away in shock. The king looks at the title in surprise. I hold out my hand and heal Eleanor. As I do, a world announcement goes off. Chapter 206, The Dryad Princess Eleanor 3. Worldwide announcement, Zirn has freed the Dryad people from their curse after thousands of years. The Dryad people is be reintegrated into society and explain what happened to them all those years ago. I finish healing Eleanor, and she opens her eyes as she now looks perfectly healthy. She stares at me and the title floating above my head. I knew we weren't forsaken, I told you so, Father. The king hugs his daughter as she says those words. I look around and see all the Dryads stare at me. Wonder, fear, and respect fill their gazes. The Dryads are connected to the deity Artemis, and since I'm the grandson of the Almighty Father, they think I'm connected in some way. Well, they are right, but not blood-related. Only related by the fact that divinity flows through me. I look towards Sally and see her smile at me. It's time for us to go. I'm sure that someone from somewhere will be sent. It's been a pleasure meeting all of you, and I hope your race prospers from here on out. I toggle my wings on and kneel so Sally can climb on my back. We'll probably see each other again in the future, Princess. I hope it's as friends and not enemies. The world you have come back to is very different than the one you were taken from. She reaches out in a motion for me to wait, but we have spent enough time here. Sally finishes settling in, and I launch us off the ground and turn us in the direction of Zenith. The Dryad people are now free and can live their life they want. I doubt I'll ever meet Ulmaruna, not with that creature after her. As we fly away and into the clouds, I hear Sally ask me something. You know, we could have stayed and helped a little bit. I know that my revenge is the next thing on the agenda, but all the work they'll need to do to rebuild it doesn't feel right leaving them. I smile as I hear her words as we soar through the clouds. We aren't going full speed, so we can talk normally. They need to adjust on their own, Sally. If someone like me holds their hand, they'll be worse off for it. The world isn't what it used to be. The Dryads will have plenty of new friends and allies willing to help them. I'm betting everything will work out fine for them. While there is war and death, it's still a world where alliances exist, and people help each other. Sally snuggles in more and sighs in content. We'll fly slow. We could use the time to relax before nightfall and time to camp. While Sarah and Sally continue their cruise in the late afternoon, there are other meetings around Gaia, many of them involving the recent return of the Dryads. There is a meeting between the leaders and the church, and the one speaking right now is the Pope. I pinch the bridge of my nose and release a deep sigh. He did it again. He saved another race of people. I look around the room and see everyone's expressions. Many of us have the same thoughts as each other. I want to lead off this meeting by saying more and more is happening on Gaia, and all of it comes down to the actions of Zirn. It's safe to say that the fate of our world and wars rest with him. Everywhere he goes, waves are made. I honestly don't know if it's a good thing anymore. If having him on in this realm is good. As a being of the highest life rating, he shouldn't even be walking around on Gaia. Many, including me, have deduced that the rules that other angels must abide by don't apply to him. I'm going to assume that everyone's focus is the war as it should be, but after what happened in Belvia, I want all of you to be on guard. You don't know when or where something like that will happen again or to whom. The thought of being killed by Zirn makes many in this room shiver. It would bother me too. They are at the top of the mortal food chain. They are scared for the first time in their lives. Gregory stands up and takes center stage to speak. The war is slowly being tilted in our favor, and with all this chaos being caused by Zirn, it's not making our efforts any easier. Now the church has to waste resources on an entire race of people that need to be educated and readjusted to society. How pragmatic of him, and while many agree with his words. Everyone knows that if we don't help the Dryads, we could suffer the wrath of Artemis. He heads back to his seat and sits back down. I don't know the future of our world. I'm no great seer or wise man. These troubled times are leading to many problems everywhere. So that's why I'm going to step down as the Pope. Many look at me, shocked and surprised. I can't lead these people. I'm no military strategist. Lucy unfolds her arms as her mouth hangs open. The seers will find the next suitable Pope in a few weeks. In the meantime, I'm going to leave all the decisions regarding my role in the church to you, Gregory. He goes stiff as I say that. He is the best leader here. He has the most experience out of everyone. So you're just going to abandon us? Leave us to fight this war without you? You don't decide when you quit. The seers do. Too bad for her, the seers agree with me. It's time I stopped worrying so much about others and focus on myself. I've sacrificed so much already, and I'm tired of this life. Once the people hear of this, they'll riot. Demanding your blood. Lucy has always been so passionate. If anyone can win this war, it's going to be her. As the chaotic meeting in the church continues, night falls on Gaia, and Zirn brings Sally and him down for the night. I bring us down and land in an opening away from trees and foliage. I let Sally off, and I set us up a tent. Once morning comes, I'll go full speed so we can get to Zenith by noon. Amelia is going to love you. She is the kindest person I've ever met. Amelia is going to be surprised to see me. She doesn't know I'm coming to visit her. I haven't checked the mail in any of the cities I've been to recently. So she is probably really worried about me. Sally comes into the tent and lays down next to me. She relaxes against me and sighs happily. I want to see my stats again after all that work. I didn't really get a chance to appreciate them. Slayer, Zirn, LVL.190. EXP, 1/100%. Title, The Son of Archangel Michael, hidden, plus 3 more. Stats. Strength, 7095 Endurance, 7045 Dexterity, 7215 Speed, 7240 Focus, 19660. Mana Aura Control, 5/100%. Health, 56,560 million/56,560 million Mana, 196,600 million/196,600 million. Stat Points, 1000 Armor Rating, 500. Inventory. Passive Perks. Inheritor of the Sword, Son of Heaven, Slayer of Evil, Holy Willow Trees, Savior, Finder of Legends, the Divine who has legend, destined for greatness, Dungeon Diver and Overachiever. Active Skills. Heaven's Light LVL.59325/5900 Protected by Heaven LVL.59225/5900/LVL.774600/130000 Parry LVL.5380/5300 Double Strike N/A King Slayer N/A Raging Machine N/A Winged Glory Angelic Flight Divine Pressure Exertion Divinity Pulse Controlled Fun. I still have 1000 stat points to put somewhere, but I don't need to at this point. My active skills have gotten so much more powerful, and the boosts on them are insane. I can output hundreds of millions of damage. Something I didn't think was possible, and I don't think any mortal creature can hurt me anymore. Sally runs her hand up and down my chest piece and hums slightly. I feel relaxed by her little melody. You know, I think I'm going to ask your mother so much about you. I can already hear the stories. That'll be bad. Amelia doesn't know anything about me. So I should warn Sally. I explain what Amelia and I have been through, and she looks sad now. I'm sorry, I shouldn't have thought that. I figured she raised you cause you turned out so good. Amelia would have raised me well, but I can't imagine my life without my real mom and dad. I kiss Sally's forehead, and her cheeks flush red. I rarely show affection like this, but I do love her reactions when it happens. After a while, we both fall asleep and rest well for the coming journey ahead. Chapter 207, Returning to Zenith. I wake up in the middle of the night. I look towards the top of the tent. I yawn after a couple of seconds and rub my eyes slightly. I lean up and roll my neck a bit. Sally is still sleeping calmly. We have both had a long trip. Getting all the rest we can is important. Come back to bed, you're so warm. Sally begins to wake up from my lack of being by her. I smile down at her as she reaches her arms up and around me. She slowly pulls me back down, and I give in. I relax as I'm brought into her grasp. She strokes that weak part in me, that soft spot for her. I never thought I'd love someone, but you never know when it can happen. She runs her fingers through my hair as I lay near her chest. I am taller than her, but I'm sleeping lower in the tent. So I'm firmly between her perfectly sized pillows. Well, perfect to me. Not too big and not too small. Your warm breath is nice, I chuckle as I hear her say that. I can hear her giggle slightly too. Goosebumps appear on my neck and shoulders at her touch. I decide to be a little brave, and I plant a couple of kisses on her chest. She gently grips my hair as I do. She hasn't said no, but I want to be sure and safe. I don't want to hurt her unknowingly. I raise my eyes out of her breasts, and I look up at her. She looks down at me, and her cheeks are red, and her eyes are half-lidded. Are you okay with any of this? I want to make sure you're comfortable before I do anything else. She grins and runs her fingers in my hairline. She nods her head and pushes my head away gently. I watch her slowly take off her chest cover, and I'm met with a white bra. She unclips the back of her bra and undoes it. I see her pale breasts and pink nipples. She sees me staring and turns her head slightly, and covers her cute buds. Do stare so much it's embarrassing. I crawl over to her, and she lays on her back. I hang over her, and she slowly uncovers her chest. I take that as a sign I can proceed. I slowly lower my ripped body on hers, and a tingle of pleasure goes through my body as my hard body connects with her soft and fit one. She releases a little moan at the contact. I think that's a good sign. It means she feels good at the contact between us right now. I lower my face between her breasts again and place my hands on the sides of them. She is breathing harder now, and I slowly move them in a circular motion. I look up at her face from between her breasts to see if I'm doing this right from her reaction. As I do, she runs both her hands through the hair around my ears. She lightly nods her head, and I continue doing what I'm doing. Not changing anything. What I'm doing is perfect. I continue the gentle circular motion. I move my index finger from its current spot and place the tips of my fingers on the tips of her nipples. She bucks her hips and locks her legs around my waist. I feel slight wetness on my six-pack, right between her legs. This is the first time I've played with her breasts before, and while it feels good to do it, I don't know what else to do. I decide to try something, and I move my fingertips in the same circular motion I'm moving her breasts in. She moans loudly and squeezes her legs around me harder. I stop using my fingertips on her nipples, and I lift my head. I don't want to favor one over the other. So I push her nipples together, so they are touching. Her breath is labored now. I kiss them once to see if that is good for her, and she throws her head back and presses her lower body hard against mine. As time goes on, the wetness between us gets more in volume. I continue to kiss and pull away from her nipples. I hope teasing like this is pleasurable for her. Cause her reactions are amazing to me. I've been hard for a long time, and it hurts. I have too good a time to care about that, though. I decide to take it up a notch, and I use my lips to capture the nipples and suck on them. I gently do it, making sure it isn't hard or hurtful. She takes her hands out of my hair and grips the furs around her head. I suck on them a couple more seconds before I stop. She looks in disappointment, but before she can say anything, I stick out my tongue and lick the tips of her nipples. Her eyes roll just slightly before she lays her head back on the furs. The movements I'm using are foreign and new to me. I really just working on her reactions. I suck on them again, but this time I use my tongue to circle them while they are in my mouth. I do this for a few seconds as Sally writhes underneath me. After a couple more seconds, she throws her arms around my neck and clings her entire body around mine as I feel her body rock and shake. I feel a pleasure shoot up my spine as I hear her deep breaths in my ear. She pulls off me, and I stop all the movement and sit next to her as her chest rises and falls with each breath. She reaches for her belt and begins to undo it, and she soon has her pants off. Her pretty white underwear is quickly removed too. She looks at me, waiting for me to follow suit. Are you still on your period? I don't want to hurt her and cause a big mess. She nods her head yes, and opens her legs anyway. I feel huge pleasure at the motion. The fact she is willing to open her legs for me turns me on so much. I don't think it's a good idea to have sex while still on her period, but I'm going to give her oral sex. That way, it lowers the risk of her feeling pain. I move my body between her legs, and I lower my head above her entrance. She looks a little disappointed. I can take it please, I want you so bad. My head spins as I hear those words. I have to hold myself back from going with it. I keep control and lower my face right above her entrance. This is the first time I've gotten such a good look at it. She has a little tuft of blonde hair right above it. I see what looks to be the clit, and I bring up my right hand. I gently place my index finger on it, just to see her reaction. I see her shiver slightly, and I take my finger off. She groans in protest. Come in, Zirn, I can't wait anymore. It feels too good when you touch me. I rein in whatever focus I can and stop myself from unequipping my gear and doing her. I place my index and middle finger on her clit and gently press down on it. Her legs wiggle as I do, and I see a little bit of liquid come out her entrance. I can smell her, and the aroma makes me feel lightheaded. I start moving my hand in an oval motion and slowly go faster and faster. After a couple of seconds, Sally starts a slow and light moan that turns into a long and hard moan. In an instant, her body rocks hard, and she locks my head and hand between her legs. Instead of stopping, I move my head closer and kiss her clit as I remove my hand. I use my tongue to move her clit around, and that makes her squeeze harder and moan louder. There is a difference between using my tongue and my fingers. That's nice to know. After a few more of my motions, I begin to taste something copperish. She is starting to bleed, but I don't think she knows. I don't want her to feel bad, so I'll finish her off and then stop. I bring the intensity with my mouth and tongue up as high as I can while locked where I am. She screams out my name. Her entire body shakes and wiggles. Her grip around my head stops, and her legs relax limply. I raise my head out from her lower area and take some deep breaths myself. She raises her head with a smile. Her smile quickly fades as she looks at me. I wonder why, and then I remember. I bring my hand up to my face and I wipe some of the blood off. Her face goes very red and she covers her face in embarrassment. I crawl up to her and sit next to her and wrap one arm around her. I won't say anything. She has nothing to be embarrassed about. Chapter 208, Returning to Zenith 2. Sally continues to hide her face as I sit next to her. I can't say I know how embarrassed she is, but I'm not going to change the way I think about her. It's really my fault too. I kept it up even when she started to bleed unknowingly. I'm glad we didn't do any penetration. That would have been a big mess. I keep my arm wrapped around her. Waiting till she is ready to talk, I use one of the furs to clean the blood off my face. While it isn't something people would do, I'm not bothered by it. I get covered in blood every few days. Sally lifts her face from her knees and looks at me. She is still blushing from the act. You should have said something, idiot. I give a sideways look. I didn't want to ruin the moment for her. That was the first time I ever tried that stuff. I didn't really know what I was doing. I tried to follow her reactions. I'm sorry I bled on you. I should have stopped us before we got that far. The feeling messed with my head. I heard that it happens when people are having fun. I'm still pretty new to all this stuff, so stopping here sounds like a good idea. You don't need to be sorry, Sally. It was really my fault. I should have stopped when it started. I wanted to finish what we started, so I'm sorry that I was selfish about that. She relaxes a little more, and she looks down at her lower parts. There is still some blood. If you want help cleaning up, I can. If you want me to step out to do it yourself, I understand. She blushes and points for me to leave the tent. I nod my head and make my way out. I fully stand up and let her do what she needs to. I look up at the sky and see countless stars. I never get tired of looking at them. We couldn't on Earth because of pollution. I sit down on the soft grass and lay down. The next step in our journey is right around the corner. Once we are done in Zenith, it'll be Sally's time to lead. She knows who her enemies are, and I'm going to be there to help kill them. As I'm relaxing, I hear announcements go off. Worldwide announcement: a player has found the swordsman class blade dance. This is a legacy class and is a one-of-a-kind class. It has been removed from the pool of classes. Worldwide announcement: a player has found the swordsman class death point. This is a legacy class and is a one-of-a-kind class. It has been removed from the pool of classes. World mission: the coalition will pay large sums of gold for any information on the wielder of Death Point. World mission: the coalition will pay large sums of gold for any information of the wielder of Blade Dance. I chuckle to myself as the announcements go off. Mom and Dad have finally gotten their legacy classes. I told them the steps and location and who should get which one. If they followed my advice, then Mom got Blade Dance, and Dad got Death Point. I hear some shuffling from the inside of the tent, and I turn to look. Sally is peeking her head out to me, now fully dressed. I need some help cleaning up the blood. She has to say no more. I lean up and make my way towards the tent. There are some bloodstains on the furs, and I have extras to use. Killing those animals for their food also gave us plenty of furs. I crawl in and pick them up. I put them in my inventory and pull out new ones we haven't used yet. They'll be clean again in a little while. That's all done. Let's try and get some more sleep before morning comes. I lay down on the new and clean furs. Sally crawls up to my side and lays down on me. What happened was spontaneous, but I heard that it's good for relationships. We'll reach Zenith tomorrow. It shouldn't be too long of a trip while at full speed. I'm excited to see Amelia after so long. Since she is a countess in Zenith, she has a lot of pull and is important. She likely has all the kids at her property with her. She said so in her letters. After a while, I slowly drift into sleep, and in my sleep, I feel a pleasurable pressure building somewhere. I flutter my eyes open, and the sleepiness is hard to break from. I look down and see a hand in my pants that aren't mine. She just started, it seems. She undoes my belt and quickly opens the front so I can be free. The pain from the confined space goes away, and my rod sticks open with her palm covering the tip. I turn my head towards her, and she is looking at me with a flushed face. I never got to touch you. I feel her grasp the head and squeeze. I lean my head back down and close my eyes, enjoying the pleasure. Her hand goes further down and stops in the middle. She can't wrap one hand around it. I'm definitely in the large category. Not double digits though, it's close, but not close enough. Your hand feels so much better. She leans her head on my chest and proceeds to stroke it, slowly going up and down. I can feel my face getting redder, and my breathing is becoming more labored. I watch her use her thumb and press on one of the thick veins. That sends shots of pleasure through my rod. I almost lose control. "You so hot down here, it's like I'm holding a freshly cooked piece of meat." She gets up from her spot and goes down to my rod. She places her hands on my leather pants and holds her mouth above my rod. She looks up at me, and she has a slight blur in her eyes. She lowers her mouth and kisses the tip. I release a low growl, and my rod pulsates. I had to use all my willpower not to explode from that action. She opens her mouth and engulfs the head. I growl as I feel her tongue swirl and light sucking. I tap her head in an effort to tell her that I can't hold back anymore. Inside of coming off, she throws her head halfway down and as far as she can go. My tip rubs the inside of her throat, and I release with a heavy groan. She starts to breathe through her nose as I release shot after shot. A couple of seconds later, my shots stop, and I lay down fully relaxed. She starts to suck hard and bob her head up and down. I thought she'd be down, but that isn't the case. She can only go halfway due to length, but it still feels amazing. Sally, all I can get out is her name before she grips the other half she can't get to with her hands. She uses her hands to massage the other half. I decide just to enjoy what she's doing, and I relish in the pleasure. I just finished shooting, but I can feel more coming. It's building at the bottom, and it's making my rod hotter. I can hear her moans from time to time. I close my eyes as I can't hold it back anymore. She doesn't take the warning, so no reason to give one. As I stop resisting, she moans while my rod in her mouth. She moaned the exact time my shots traveled up my rod, making it bigger. She drinks shot after shot, and after I'm finally done, she lifts her head off. There is saliva in my mess, leaving trails between my rod and her mouth. Her face is flushed, and she is looking up at me. "You don't mind the blood, right?" she asks me a question in a breathless voice. I shake my head, informing her I don't mind it. I get bloody very often in battle. This won't faze me in the slightest. She quickly unclothes herself again, and I unequip my armor. She lines up her entrance, and before she can lower herself, I stop her. She looks at me, waiting for an explanation as to why I stopped her. "Can I be on top this time? I want to see what it's like." She immediately goes on her back and spreads her legs open for me. My rod repeatedly twitches at that action. I move and hang over her. She grips the middle of my rod and guides the tip to her entrance. I feel her circle it a couple of times. She stops, and my tip is kissing the first folds inside her. She puts her arms around my neck, waiting for me to push down. Chapter 209, Returning to Zenith 3. I jolt awake from my dream, and as I gain my bearings, I look down, and the pain from my lower area throbs. I undo my belt and move it from its uncomfortable position. I notice that some spunk has come out. That was a vivid dream. I quickly clean up my rod and wait until it's soft. I put it back in, and I lay back down. I roll my head over, and Sally is sleeping soundly. Fully clothed and not legs spread. I take a breath and organize my thoughts. That was the first time I've ever experienced something to that degree. I don't know what time it is, but I'm sure there are a couple of hours until sunrise. I close my eyes and try to sleep, but I can't. I start to think about other things to get my mind off that dream. The first being how my parents are doing with their news classes. Blade Dance and Death Point are very powerful legacy classes, and now that they have gotten them, my entire family is now in that less than 1%. They are likely to move from their current position, which I know. This is the first time in a while I know where they are. I know they'll be safe from now on, safer than most, at least. Sally releases a hum and squishes her body against mine. I do my best to ignore it, and I succeed. I feel the hand she has on my chest piece slide up my body, and she runs it across my face and through the hair on the side of my head. I get goosebumps as she does. I gently peel her off me and give her a pillow in my place, but she doesn't look satisfied. She is very handy with me in her sleep, and I don't want that right now. Not after that dream. Zirn, don't go, she talks in her sleep as well. I turn my back and ignore her. I close my eyes again, trying to sleep, and after a while, I finally start to relax. I had to think about boring things like groceries from Earth. I drift back into sleep, and I don't have any weird dreams this time. The night passes, and I soon feel the heat rising in the tent. I open my eyes and feel someone attached to my back. I undo her arms and roll her over. I sit up and make my way out of the tent. I stand and stretch my body as the sun beats down on me. My back and kneecaps pop as I reach the apex of my stretch. I relax, and I take a deep breath. I take some elk meat out of my inventory as I sit down in the grass and start to eat. I hear shuffling coming from inside the tent, and Sally crawls out, and she looks miserable. She stands up and crawls over to my side and lays against my back, and releases a groan of discomfort. That little bit we did has made me really sore. Good thing we didn't go all the way. I'm both glad and slightly disappointed. I'm glad because it didn't happen in real life, disappointed I couldn't see or feel the end of my dream. But what can you do? Sometimes that happens. That's what I heard, at least. She puts her chin on my shoulder and leans her head against mine as she holds me from behind. The height difference makes it to where she has to sit on her knees to do so. You were pretty gentle last night. It felt so good. Thanks for going easy on me, I smile and pull out some elk meat and hand it to her. She takes it and lets me go so she can sit beside me. That was the first time I tried any of that. I knew being gentle was the first step. After that, I looked at her reactions and listened to her. I take another bite of food and enjoy this moment. Once we are done eating, let's head out. Zenith isn't going to take long getting to, so enjoy the little break we have. I'm going to be eating my food slowly just to savor this moment. Sally nods her head in agreement, and I feel her lean her head on my shoulder. We watch the orange sky from the sunrise slowly turn blue as we eat out food. I never got to see things like this on Earth. Pollution made the sky yellow, not blue like this. As Sarah and Sally continue eating and enjoying the beauty of the morning, there is a slight problem in Zenith. That problem being among the noble society. Many of the nobles have questioned why a peasant called Amelia was given nobility at the level of a countess. Many have outcried in protest, saying the role can be fitted by someone far more qualified. Amelia is sitting in her massive office on her giant estate and watching her kids play outside. I take a sip of tea and watch my kids play. King Jackson has been so kind to the kids and me. He has shown so much hospitality for us despite the protests among the noble community. Lady Amelia, do you wish to go to the shopping district today? My head butler Nick asks me a question. My days are spent helping the poor and sick of my old community. Jackson has made major changes that have helped, but I still do what I can. Most people only know my first name. Only 3 people know who I truly am. My butler Nick, King Jackson, and his butler Charles. If word got out that I'm Zern's mother, then I'd surely be thrust into some form of trouble. I don't think so, Nick. I want to stay in today. I've been going to and from the city every day for the last month. Taking a break is required. Nick slightly bows and proceeds to make his way out of my office. Thinking about my son has made me worried. He hasn't responded to any of my letters as of late, and now he has been revealed to the world. The noble community here won't put the pieces regarding my relationship with my son together. They are too blinded by their money and egos to see such a thing. I sit down in my chair and fiddle with this annoying dress. Another thing I don't like about nobility is the attire. What's wrong with wearing normal clothes? I set my tea down and stare past the property line towards the mountains. My son is out there on some crazy mission or adventure. I have so many concerns for him. I can't stand the thought of him dying at some point. I see you are in deep thought. Should I come back later? I stand from my chair in surprise, and I see King Jackson in my office. You didn't hear my knock or my first question. It must be very important to make you zone out so much. I sigh and nod my head. I give my apologies for the loss of focus. I came here to invite you to my wedding 2 days from now. I know that you don't like being around the nobility, but as a noble, you are required to come to any gathering the king hosts. That includes weddings. I grimace at the thought of mingling among the people I don't like the most. He just chuckles and hands me an invitation. I accept it, and he turns around and leaves. I should go. It's the least I could do to repay him. I place the invitation on my table and sit back down in my chair. I rub my temples and close my eyes. That means I need to bring a gift, something that, what do they call it? Demonstrates nobility? I hate politics. I could just spend some money from the seemingly endless supply of gold I have, but I think something more personal is in order. One that can't be bought. Now only if I had something good that fits that description, maybe something will pop up. I should really relax for now. Being a noble is hard work, and while my job isn't as demanding as the rest of the nobles, I still don't like it. Lady Amelia, shall I acquire a dress from the boutique, or will you pick something here? I open my eyes and see Nick hold the invitation and reading the instructions. I nod my head about the boutique idea and he bows slightly and walks out of the room. He'll send someone to get a handful of dresses and bring them here to try on. Another thing I don't like. Chapter 210, The New Zenith City I. We glide at an incredibly fast speed. The trip today has been a really peaceful one, and the warm weather makes traveling like this all the more enjoyable. Once we get to Zenith, please stay close to me, Sally. I don't know how much it's changed since I was there last. We don't have to shout since she is relaxing her head right on my shoulder, and her face is right against mine. She has been much more affectionate since last night. I didn't know that being physical in that regard can have such an effect. My dream was pretty crazy, and I'm actually looking forward to the next time I have one. The dream was so close to the best part, to the point of entry. I woke up before the dream could get that far. I always heard that Zenith was a rough place, and ever since the war in this country ended, there have only been improvements. Sally is much more informed about Gaia than I am. She is a native to these lands, after all. I knew quite a bit coming back from the future, but not that much. Only enough to get me to the power I'm at now. Zenith is sure to have changed, but I don't know by how much and if it's good or bad. Jackson is a good man with smart ideas. I can see him making changes, but not enough to repair all the damage Harold caused during his time as the king. We'll have to ask around for my mom. People will know where we can find her since Jackson gave her the rank of countess. I remember the first time I told Sally I knew kings and creatures like Fenrir. Now that my mother is nobility, her life is so much harder. While she is safer, she now has to deal with the worst kind of people. I doubt anyone other than Jackson and Charles knows Amelia is my mother, and that's still too many people knowing about our connection. On the other hand, if the Church of the Dark Ones ever finds out, then they'll use her to get to me. So our connection as mother and son needs to be well guarded. How does it feel now that you are nobility in Zenith too? I find her question a little funny, but not enough to make me laugh. I'm nobility in the overworld since my grandfather is the single most powerful being in existence. As well as my father being the greatest and bravest warrior in the overworld. These thoughts lead me to this whole situation with the old gods and what they are planning. Ever since they were released when I got my mana aura, I haven't heard anything from them. Fenrir had to leave Gaia and return to overworld to discuss what has happened. I know absolutely nothing when it comes to these said, old gods. All I can do is wait for something to happen, and that is one of the worst situations to be in. While in my thoughts, a world announcement goes off. Worldwide announcement, the Pope, Alexander Leopold, has stepped down. A new event will be activated, and every player has a chance to win this illustrious legendary class. 24 hours from now, a global event will occur, and all peoples of Gaia will participate. I'll admit, this is surprising. Normally the seers will select a new pope, but the existence of the system has changed things. It's safe to say that the system has the same power and authority as a god. It must be running things for the players and the events that have changed Gaia. This is all a theory, of course. Does this mean the church will stop looking for you? I know how much you hate being pursued by people you want nothing to do with. Sally nails it right on the head. This doesn't change any plans for me, but billions of players will be looking forward to this upcoming event, and who knows what will happen. I bet a very powerful NPC will win it, and that's fine with me. The church and its politics are no problems of mine. This doesn't change any of our plans, Sally. Once we are done in Zenith, we'll go after all the men that hurt you. You'll get the revenge you deserve to get. I promise this on my life. I want Sally to feel like she can do anything she wants now. She has the power to do it, and now she just needs to think like it. She is still hurt and healing from all the abuse she suffered, and I'm going to be here to lean on when it becomes too hard to stand. Because it will at one point, she'll feel weak and helpless seeing her torturers. When those moments happen, I'll be there. I really love you, Zirn. My life wouldn't be this great now without you. You have shown me a world that I didn't know existed, one with love in it. My heart clenches, and my stomach turns at those words. She has suffered so much, and no one helped her. I want to check on something and see if any of my other titles do anything. I pull up my player interface to check. Slayer, Zirn, LVL.190. EXP, 1/100%. Title, The Son of Archangel Michael, hidden, +3 more. Stats. Strength, 7095. Endurance, 7045. Dexterity, 7215. Speed, 7240. Focus, 19660. Mana Aura Control, 5/100%. Health, 56,560 million/56,560 million. Mana, 196,600 million/196,600 million. Stat points, 1000. Armor rating, 500. Inventory. Passive perks. Inheritor of the Sword, Son of Heaven, Slayer of Evil, Holy Willow Trees, Savior, Finder of Legends, the Divine who has legend, destined for greatness, Dungeon Diver, and Overachiever. Active skills. Heaven's Light, LVL.59 325/5900. Protected by Heaven, LVL.59 225/5900/LVL.77 4600/130000. Parry, LVL.5380/5300. Double Strike N/A King Slayer N/A Raging Machine N/A Winged Glory, Angelic Flight, Divine Pressure, Exertion, Divinity Pulse, Controlled Fun. Some of the titles have unique effects, like Demon Slayer, nothing at the same level as my divine title. It has so many crazy effects on it, making it unconventional to use it in a public place. In the end, it's just smarter not to use it unless there is a need for its special active skills. I want to also check on the Witness and read the information on it again. The Witness. Description: a legendary sword that has been around since before recorded history. All the greatest and most influential people have wielded this blade. Empires have risen and fallen to, and for, this blade. It has been held by kings, queens, emperors, and empresses, along with sword saints of unparalleled power and recognition. The Witness is the most powerful of the one-handed swords on Gaia. There is no blade better to wield. The construction of the Witness isn't one known to all. Only a select few know its origins. It was crafted from the same divine metal as Durandal, Excalibur, and Caliban. They are considered siblings since they were made from the same metal ore. New information: the blacksmith that created the witness is no other than Wayland himself. Out of all the swords he created, the witness plays a special role. While warriors could wield it, its true power would be revealed when the son of Archangel Michael finally claimed it. More information will be revealed once you tier up. Quality: legendary. Durability: infinite. Damage: 52,000. Unique properties: has a very high chance to dismember limbs instantly. Has a very high chance to cause curse of decomposition. Description: areas attacked by curse of decomposition will rot away till they are cured or the target dies. Will always cause critical hit upon vital points struck. Will always ignore armor and defense ratings. This sword will gain more power every time you tier up. There is no required level to wield this blade. The witness resonates with your angelic blood. Plus 10,000 focus. A synergy has been created between the dice of Wayland and the witness. Damage has been raised to 52,000. Divinity burn: inherent skill. Description: a powerful burn skill that is fueled by divine power. Especially effective against anything non-deity. Damage: 240,000 over time. This skill will active every third swing and burn the target for 12 seconds. I've come to learn that the witness has far more potential than I ever realized it had. So it'll be with me for the long run. There is probably no sword on Gaia that can compete with it. I stop focusing on all this stuff and just focus on enjoying the calm flight with Sally. Sarah and Sally continue to fly and make their way to Zenith, and as this is going on, there is chaos among the player base at the recent announcement. There are players all over in their little parties or giant guilds talking to each other. Out of all the players, only a few are meeting to discuss this. It's the top guild leaders meeting in a city by the name of Geomer, in the country of Herol. The speaker at this meeting is Wilted Rose to discuss transpiring events.